Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Luis Garcia. I'm the industrial goods partner at the Brazilian office from Brazil, from Porsche Consulting. I will be your host today, and I welcome you to the Future of the Construction series. This is the first event of a series which will be happening over the next months, connecting leaders and providing lessons for professionals and enthusiasts in the segment. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and I hope you enjoyed the event. In case you have any questions for the participants, please write them in the chat and we will answer at the end of the event. For starting, I would like to invite our keynote speaker, Mrs. Birgit Engler, a sustainability expert in Porsche Consulting, to kick off our event. Birgit, please.
Thank you very much, Luis, and hello everybody out there on the screens. I'm really looking forward to this interesting panel discussion. And yes, so we're talking about the construction sector today and about the sustainability transformation. So what is it about at all? Let's see. The importance of the construction industry is on a global scale really undisputed. It has a huge economic impact, and for example, in Germany, the GDP is roughly 11%, making the construction industry one of the key industries. So the impact also, besides economic, also on environment and climate and social issues is really important. As you can see here on the left, the impact on global CO2 emissions is rather 40%, and also waste generated is a high number. But also the construction industry impacts the water situation globally. And so it is not to say, it's not listed here, but it is absolutely a must to also take into consideration the social aspects. And assuming the further prospected growth of the industry, in a do-nothing scenario, the impact will raise. And so therefore, it is absolutely an urgent to-do that we have to change something, and every participant in the industry can have a part in it. But on the other hand, where there are risks, there are also opportunities. Besides the global common understanding that sustainability is a must, we can see two drivers. One driver for the industry to change is the risk avoidance. So if not turning the business models into sustainable ones, investors and financial investors and legislation will have more demanding requirements. So this might be influencing the construction industry and even being a threat to their existing business. Furthermore, and this is not a predictable risk, is the increase of carbon pricing. And of course, there are also some penalties on the horizon, which are a risk that should be avoided. On the other hand, we have also some new opportunities for business and revenue streams. So we can be more attractive to clients, to new investors, if we put our business model on a sustainable side. ESG is one of the criteria to make sustainability action visible. And this pays also in for better financing options and for long-term competitiveness compared to other in the industry. For us, our understanding of sustainability is that it is a long-term goal. It is not a short-term cost optimization program. It is also not a task force. Although we have the urgent need to immediate action now, we have to focus on a long-term perspective, and therefore sustainability has to be embedded in a corporate strategy, in a corporate planning, risk management, and in its organizational culture. So to make a credible contribution, it must be a part of the all-day business, and we have to start now, although the impact might be not measurable now, but only in 10 years. But anyway, we have to turn the industry, and we have all play our part in it, from the one raw material producer to the end user and everyone who is in between in the whole value chain. Everybody can make a contribution here. The message has already reached the industry, that is no doubt. So here we see Dr. Dominik von Achten, who is the chairman of the managing board of Heidelberger Cement, which is one of the world's largest building material companies. And he sees the challenge as an opportunity, and he sees the future of concrete is green. So this is a statement, but we don't need a lip service, we need real concrete action. And therefore, the company invests in new plants. For example, in Sweden, they are opening up a first completely carbon-free plant for cement in 2030. And in Norway, the group is building an industrial plant to capture and store the carbon emissions, which is starting in 2024. So you can see it's something which is about willingness, and it's about commitment and showing that you do something for your commitment, and this is concrete projects. For us, for the construction industry and also for other industries, we see 5 major fields of action. We begin with the most obvious, which is climate. So although the industry today has huge climate impact with a high emissions, we can be on a way to become a climate saver. It's not only about avoiding our emissions in the industry, but we can also be a provider for cross-industry technology innovation, for example, using the carbon emissions for generating green hydrogen. Furthermore, and this is really closely connected because it's also impacting emissions and climate, it's about resources. Here, the keyword is circular economy, reusing, recycling of materials which were already in use, for example, steel, but also we could look up for new innovative materials which are renewable, or we have to find new technologies to make other materials for a longer use. But not to forget, this environmental aspects is the water and the social aspects. So many people are connected to the industry, and the impact and the consumption of water is one which also has an impact on the people living out there. So it's about reducing water usage and consumption, and also meeting social responsibility and making sustainability accessible for all, for the society, for your employees, for customers, and also for your partners in the value chain, for example. And to make it more easy to do so, and it's not easy, but we need an enabler, and I think it's digitization, which creates a transparency to make the actions more impactful and to make it measurable, and to create synergies and connections between all the partners in the industry. And so digitization is one of the most important enablers in this transformation of the industry. Furthermore, when we look on the factors that are success drivers for the industry, I think there are 3. One is the outside, it's the market stimulus. So global regulations and also the financial market requirements, for example, ESG, they are standardized, can give a little push in the industry and help the industry to focus on the right things and perform in the right direction. Also, pioneers can set new market standards or industry standards and position them better with better competitiveness for the future. Another enabling factor is strategy and governance. So it's about willingness and a commitment to change, and sustainability really needs a paradigm change. So we have to anchor it in our management system in the company, but we also have to integrate the employees and make them a driver for the transformation from within. And also, this is another point which is directly linked to the technological change. We need employees and people motivated and with high engagement for driving the technological change. The employees are expecting more sustainability activities from their employers, which showed a survey we had in March this year, stating that 31% of the employees would not longer apply to their current employer because of a lack of sustainability commitment. So if you want to be a technological pioneer in this topic, you need your employees, you need the right innovation management, and for sure, you need new partnerships and new business models or collaboration models to drive the change. And furthermore, and it's one thing which is clear, the planning should be stable, the risk should be overseeable, and the things we drive should be feasible to bring the impact at a reasonable price. So if we look all the things I just said, it's about the impact of the industry, their importance, and of course, their opportunities within their business. I think we can say we look really forward to our interesting panel discussion with our guests. And so thank you very much for your attention. And I hand over to Luis with the question, is sustainability a game changer for the construction industry?
Thank you very much, Birgit, for your presentation. It's a privilege to have an expert such as yourself here in the event. But let's take this question to the next block. But first, let's please let us allow now our panelists to introduce themselves. So Nicolas Fries from Implenia, Switzerland, Germany. The stage is yours. Please be my guest. I think it's on mute, Nicolas.
So yes. It should work right now. Thank you very much, Luis, and thanks Porsche Consulting for the invite to participate today. As you said, I'm Nicolas Fries. I'm 34 years old. I'm Swiss, currently located here in Zurich. I have an educational background in international affairs and environmental sciences, and I've been working for the past 6 years at a company called Implenia. So Implenia is a multinational construction and real estate company based in Zurich, but we also operate in Germany, France, and Scandinavia. And we more or less do everything that can be built with a special focus, I would say, on tunneling and major real estate products and projects. So for the last year, I have been working very intensely on the topic of circularity. I have the title of a circularity and innovation manager, and I'm working for a smaller business unit that currently develops real estate products. So what we're kind of trying to do is to build up what we call a kit of parts. So it's a set of standardized prefab building components that are actually based on circularity principles in order to reduce waste and in order to maintain material values over several life cycles. So I'm very proud that this is our USP. And maybe on a personal note, I'm very interested in finding so-called triple win solution, as you mentioned, Birgit, it's a solution which are socially acceptable, environmentally friendly, and also economically viable. And for me, sustainability is not just necessity from an ecological and social perspective, but it can be a huge business opportunity if you tackle it the correct way. So I think this is a main message I want to bring into today's discussion. And in a nutshell, as I said before, I found my personal devotion to a more sustainable built environment in the future. So thank you again very much for the invite.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. I would like to invite now Lars Leitner from Turner, USA, to do his introduction. Please, Lars.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I want to say thank you for Birgit and Luis organizing something like that. I think it's pretty unique, and I think it's time to do it. So my name is Lars Leitner. I'm Senior Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer of Turner Construction. I'm currently calling from New York. Nicholas, you're 34. I'm 32 years in the industry. So we represent different generations, and I think that's a very important topic here, and we'll hopefully have some time to talk about that the next hour. So for everybody who's perhaps wondering who's Turner Construction, Turner Construction was founded in 1902, based in North America. We have additional presence in Southeast Asia, India, and Europe. We're a subsidiary of Hochtief AG, a company in Germany, publicly traded in Germany. And we're the largest building construction company, and I think even last year the largest construction company in the United States, complete around 15 billion of work annually, and with the focus areas in healthcare, commercial, education and science, data center, sports arenas and stadiums. But to our main topic here, sustainability. So Turner really 15 years ago made a very clear and formal commitment to sustainability, and we invested heavily in our technical capabilities like building information modeling, engineering department, LEED certification, lean process improvement. Basically, why we did do all this stuff, really to enable our people to increase the environmental sustainability of our buildings, to reduce the environmental impact of our construction sites. Here, sure, mainly like Birgit was mentioning, reducing energy and water consumption, and very importantly, being basically educating our people so that they could really be educated advisors for our clients. So I think we made the right move 15 years ago, but we are currently seeing where we are, and we have to accelerate dramatically. What I mean with that is, sure, we have a good base, I think, but the industry is changing very, very fast. And the pressure, basically comes from different sides. It comes from clients, which is good. It comes from employees who are really coming out of a totally different generation than I am. The government, and honestly, I think really, and the fact it's the right thing to do, and that's really what basically drives us as Turner. Even if we are the biggest green builders now in the US for more than 10 years, I think it is not enough to do it, or not enough to be this. But I think the opportunities are tremendous, and the good thing is that we have and we are developing solutions really in a speed never seen before. So we see the impact now and not in 10 years. And I'm convinced that focusing on that scheme will prepare us here in the US market really for the future.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Lars. Well, let us welcome now Bruno Goretti from Brazil, from Brasal. Please, Bruno, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bruno Goretti. It's a pleasure and honor for me to be here talking to you. And first of all, I owe special thanks to Luis Garcia and Porsche Consulting team. I'm the company's engineering director, responsible for strategy and guidelines of design and engineering processes. Let's talk about a little bit of our company, Brasal. We are a Brazilian company with 58 years of existence. In the present moment, the group acts mostly in these 5 segments: beverage, factoring and distribution, real estate and construction, vehicle selling, fuel selling, and energy. It's a company with around 4,000 workers, and our partners' brands are Coca-Cola, Heineken, Volkswagen, Ford, Petrobras, Shell, and Tesvolt. Let's focus at real estate and construction segment now. We are talking about 19 years of history, 55 towers, 34 delivered, and 21 being built in. That number goes to 30 construction sites open in 2022. 7,250 apartments and offices, 70% delivered and 30% being built. More than 1 million square meters, 60% delivered and 40% being built. Our land bank represents something like 29 towers in process of design, 665,000 square meters to be introduced to the real estate market along these 2 next years. In the present moment, we have around 1,800 workers employed in different branches. They are located in 3 different cities in Brazil: Brasília at Federal District, Goiânia at Goiás State, and Uberlândia at Minas Gerais State. As I said before, in 2021, we have 21 construction sites open, and those constructions represent more than 415,000 square meters. We have some certificates, and they are ISO and GPTW. Talking about our roundtable, we have some challenges. Segment of high quality generates reference and inspiration. It's a huge responsibility. Customer centricity. So we keep trying to understand possible customer tendency and behavior. Keep offering buildings with timeless design and privileged location. Finally, and the main theme of this roundtable, sustainability. I think we'll talk about it in a few minutes. So I would like to thank you again, and let's go.
Thank you, Bruno. Thank you very much for your attendance and your words. Well, I would like to invite now Paolo Tiramani from Boxable, USA. Paolo, we are looking forward to hear you.
Hi, everybody. It's Paolo Tiramani for Boxable. Boxable is a new construction technology startup here in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Everybody wants to come and visit us. I encourage you all to come and visit us. Boxable addresses the problem of building construction, which is the only product in a modern world that is in a pre-industrial condition. Pre-industrial simply means pre-factory, so it doesn't. Building construction does not take advantage of all the things that we become used to in a modern world in terms of getting product quickly, low cost, at a very high quality. The reason building construction is pre-industrial is because it's big. So it's built out in an open field with really rudimentary processes, which leads to long lead times, variable quality, and very, very high costs. There are factory solutions, of course, for building construction, but they bring those rudimentary production processes under a roof instead of using new technology. And then when they're done, they build something that is typically 12 or 14 foot wide, which is illegal to ship. So not terribly clever. The Boxable construction technology makes rooms, and rooms connect, stack, cantilever to build pretty much any product, any building you can imagine. And part of the magic is that we ship 8.5 foot wide. Excuse me for being in feet. We're here in the USA. They ship 8.5 foot wide, which is legal all around the world, and then they unpack to really a staggering 20 foot wide. So our largest building module, our building blocks, think of them as large Legos. Our largest one is a 40 foot clear span, 20 foot on the short side, with a very, very tall 9.5 foot ceiling. A tremendous amount of modularity allows us to connect and stack to build, pretty much anything. As a startup, we have a lot of challenges. We're a very large startup. You can see behind me, Factory 1, which is about, in meters, I would say it's about 20,000 square meters. It's a very large facility. And we're now just producing an order for the federal government for 158 units. The goal of this facility is to build products, build a home about every 90 minutes, In a short 3 or 4 months, we've gotten to about 3 hours, 4 hours. Currently, I think we're 6 to 8 a week, and we're coming down to 3 hours. We've had tremendous help from Porsche Consulting. We've had Thomas and Alex spend weeks at a time here. I think they may even be spending Christmas with us. I'm not sure. In terms of sustainability, factory produces sustainability. Sustainability for me is just another word for efficiency. When you're efficient, you don't have waste. And if you don't have waste, you have sustainability. So out in the field, you bring the workers past the materials. And here in the factory, we bring the material past the worker, and that allows us to speed up very, very quickly. And then in terms of the product itself, there is nothing traditional about the Boxable product. We don't use little sticks of wood. Our homes are made of steel and concrete. We launched with the Boxable Casita, which is about a 45 square foot studio home. It exploded on the internet. We have over 100,000 orders to fill. And with this very large factory behind me, our maximum capacity is only 3,500. So only 3.5–4% of our total order book. So that's why we call this Factory 1. The building modules are really just like large Legos. So whatever you could build in your mind or on a table with Legos in terms of architectural style and size, from single family homes, mid-rise apartments, high-rise apartments, townhomes, everything can be built with Boxable. We are not a charity, we are for profit, but we are good works. The company has been started to solve a very, very large problem, and we're scaling very, very quickly. The goal is what we have behind me really is a very, very large R&D lab to prove the process. We'll be going to really to full lights out automation here, again with the fine help from Porsche Consulting, and then we'll be building out regional production facilities. Our next production facility will be about 3 or 4 million square feet, and then we'll be franchising around the globe. So very exciting project. Hopefully we can make a big dent in the affordable upscale affordable housing space. And of course, in terms of sustainability, our houses not only unpack in about an hour, but they can also pack down in about an hour. So if you can imagine that is the ultimate sustainability. FEMA, for example, which is the emergency arm for the federal government for disasters, national disasters from hurricanes and things like that. Of course, instead of putting down tents when there's a disaster to provide people with shelter, you can put down a Boxable, and that can serve as a temporary shelter. And then that Boxable can then be reused to rebuild the community with the community's own hands, which is what the federal government wants. So reusability and efficiency really are the components for an ultimately sustainable situation. Thanks.
Thank you, Paulo. Thank you very much. And we appreciate that. I'm just gonna say first that we are also ready here for anything, like you are.
Your head is well protected.
We are always ready for construction here in USA, Germany, or in any of our offices around the world. Thank you guys again for the introduction. It's really a pleasure to have you here, such companies and executives. As we have heard from Birgit, sustainability has been seen as a game changer, just like she said, for the future. And when we talk about sustainability, there are many aspects involved: environmental, social, economical, mainly. Most of our guests today are innovating not only in their products, but on their production process too. So offsites are a new trend. New treatments to material wastes are being required, and a holistic approach regarding technology is a must, right? In this context, let's explore this perspective with our experts. Lars, please. do you believe, as just Birgit said, do you believe sustainability is a game changer? What happened on the past years that could explain this new moment, please?
Yeah, you're saying it's a game changer for the future, and I would say what we are facing here is real. It's now. Sure, it's about the future of the next generation and our future, but I think it's something we're facing today and not something which will important be in the future. And I think important here is always why we're saying it. What's the driver? And I think it starts really, in our opinion, for example, with our younger generation, who really think a bit different than we perhaps thought in that age, and we have here a big movement in all the societies that the people today or the younger generation are really looking for more purpose in their lives. And when we look at our company, we have 70% of our people in our company are Generation Y and younger. And they're representing, on one hand, us, but they're also representing our clients. And I would say it's great to see that they helped us really, that I would say the entire world woke up. And if you ask me, is it a game changer? I would say, yeah, it is a game changer. And when you say, what is it today? Is it even business today? And I would say that sure it is, because think about why we're thinking about it and what is really impacting us, and what is real. And when you look to the outside, here in New York, we are at the coast of the Atlantic. When you think about flooding on our coastline, when you look at the drought in the Middle West or somewhere else on the world, that's not future, that's today. And I think that's where we really are, I would say, running, or our business is impacted. We're doing business here in these resilient aspects. So it means whatever it is, coastline protection buildings, or anything in that direction, or we're advising our clients how they basically should design their buildings impacted by these events, which we cannot change anymore. And on the other side, I would say we have the environmental aspects, where we can still have an impact on the future. So that is, I would say, the second part of the equation. And clients want to do the right things. They know that they're building an asset for 50 or 100 years, and they cannot, I would say, nobody wants to build something which they cannot sell in 10 years or in 15 years. So there's also a big driver which drives a different kind of thinking. But sure, a lot of people on this phone are from Europe, and you see there's huge governmental push. But this is not only Europe. I don't know if you know, for example, that what you see here in New York called Local Law 97, which is basically a new law which defines environmental milestones for 2024, 2030, 2050. And when you look at this, how many buildings are impacted? Roughly 60,000 buildings in New York City are impacted by that law. And we know the fines as of today for $267 per CO2 ton. And trust me, this will disrupt the industry. So you don't have that only from the regulation point of view in Europe, you have it also here, and we see it in 30 other cities in the United States. And so that's why I think, it is a game changer, but not only for the future, it is a game changer today.
Okay, thank you, Lars. Very interesting, your point of view. Paolo, how do you see that too, please, in your opinion? as a game changer?
So I think sustainability has to be designed in from the outset. I don't think it's as easy to have a product and then back into having sustainability and efficiency. It'd be like having, building a wagon wheel for a cart and then putting a rubber tire on it. Wouldn't work too well. Here at Boxable, the concept of efficiency, sustainability is really holistic. We look at it from a very deep and fundamental level, from a sort of a genetic code level, if you like. We look right at the beginning to the least number of unique components, for example, to create the widest diversity of product. Tremendous modularity. Our business really is in two lanes. There is the building shells and then the configurability of those building shells. But we will only ever have 3 building shells. It's a very small number. And those 3 building shells have 85% commonality in terms of components. And then in terms of the configuration, whether it turns into a bedroom or a bathroom or a meeting room, it can be very easily reconfigured. So throughout the life cycle arc of that product, it can actually change configurations with very, very little waste, even to the point where, for example, our entry product, this Boxable Casita, can be expanded to add bedrooms and such. And as the system grows, for example, we could have a single family home, and you could have a family perhaps with 2, 3, or 4 children. And then when those children have left the home, perhaps the parents are still living in the home. They don't need the big home. They don't like the big taxes of the big home. And with the Boxable technology, it's possible to take several of those modules that might be bedrooms, fold them up, put them on a secondary market. It might be a Boxable secondary market. It might be an eBay secondary market. And those products can go out to other families and be reused. So I think that the issue of sustainability is really a pie, and that's how we design here at Boxable. In terms of, if you look at the pie, a problem pie, if you like, and you slice it up and you attack each one. You attack each one as hard as you can, and then if you approach it that way, you find that when you solve one problem, it often has a knock-on effect, a complementary knock-on effect to another problem. So it has to be looked at in a very holistic way, I believe.
Okay, thank you, Paulo. Well, you talk a lot about how to reduce, to reuse. So this I would like to ask Nicolas. Nicolas, what is the biggest lever to reduce material waste within the construction industry, and what part does modularized construction play in that, please?
Well, in Switzerland, construction makes up for about 50% of total waste. So Birgit, you mentioned 40%. In Switzerland, it's slightly higher. So actually, what we build and how we build has a tremendous impact. I think we all agree on that. And if you look on the building life cycle and you try to figure out when actually waste occurs, you will actually see that only a very small part of the waste occurs during the actual construction process. The biggest part, however, happens at the end of life, when a bulldozer literally erases a building, and by doing so mixes up materials and destroys material value. So actually, in my opinion, I think the biggest leverage that we have to reduce material waste lies in a very early stage of the building life cycle, namely in the design phase, where the architect or an engineer, for instance, can reduce the quantity of materials. We call it lowest suitable grade, so that's very important. You can choose, let's say, pure and preferably renewable materials to reduce, for instance, the embodied carbon. And you can actually also guarantee the separability of the different material layers by applying, for instance, dry connectors or mechanical connectors. So I think in this phase, you have the biggest leverage. And Luis, you asked me about how modular construction plays into that game. Paolo, you mentioned it. Modular construction has the beauty of providing kind of a contained environment, which allows to reduce waste substantially. And second, I want to highlight that modular construction is also perfect because you can actually kind of repeat. So it's all about repeatability. So you have to do it once, right? And then you can scale it to thousands and optimize from one product generation to the next. So you have also kind of a high learning curve at the same time. And that's where I see that actually modular construction can contribute the most to the topic of circular economy.
Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you, Nicolas. And let's go a little bit to Brazil. Bruno, how does it affect Brazilians, let's say, luxury market where Brasal is inserted to? Please.
Well, Luis, our country reality, according to GBC Brazil in 2018, the country was ranked as at the 4th position, considering the number and area of sustainable buildings. However, in most of cases, sustainability affects directly the commercial and office buildings. There are some reasons for that. The focus is based on the building operation costs, price of rental, water consumed, energy efficiency, and reduction of material waste. Those buildings, design and construction pursue green certification. But, in other hands, when you talk about apartments, sustainability is a rising opportunity. We can say that the luxury market runs into different levels of sustainability development. First, the best and why not the most luxury office and commercial buildings are designed and delivered with some kind of sustainable certification. That's a reality. However, second, for multi-apartment buildings, sustainability is a trend, but we can see many new projects designed with a sustainable concept. In our company, the reality is, as I said before, the segment of high standard quality generates reference and inspiration. When we design and construct sustainable buildings, we influence other competitors somehow. Customers expect companies not to harm the environment. So it's necessary to be concerned about the chain, suppliers, producers, removal of raw materials from nature and packaging. Consumer pressure, regulation update, and own initiative actually contributed to the way we deal with sustainability theme. Here we have some examples in our company. We have buildings provided with parking areas for electrical recharge. Most of them are provided with solar energy for water heating. Some of our customers are gifted with an electrical bike when they buy a new apartment. And our last commercial building that we designed and delivered in 2018, it has the International Aqua HQE certification. Design and construction processes, notably after Porsche Consulting. I think we'll talk about it in a few minutes, Luis.
Okay, thank you, Bruno. Thank you very much. So going to this direction about process, organization, many things have changed in the past years, culminating in the reality we are right now. Coming from a very traditional industry, such as the automobility. We know, for example, in the Volkswagen Group, organizational change was recognized early on as an enabler and success factor in the sustainability transformation across all hierarchies and corporate functions. So sustainability today is a top priority of the board and is embedded in the whole organization. Yeah. So, Lars, how do you see the organization process from shifting from a traditional mentality to a sustainable centric company? Please.
Yeah, I try to answer it from our perspective. And, as I said, we have the advantage that this is not really new for us. As I said before, we were seeing that 15 years ago. And so it's sure a process which now accelerating, and I think in important is that this is not a sandbox exercise. Means you think there's something coming, you don't know exactly how it is defined, and then you hope that in 10, 15 years you will get an outcome. We see it more that it's driven by clear demand by client, and it's way better, to move your company if it's related to real business. And the good thing is that we have a lot of clients who are very much interested to make a difference here and are open to new ways to go. Sure, it's faster. So important is that you have the right focus areas, that you have the right resources, and it's changing processes and way to do things. I think it was just mentioned before, there's really a new way to design and build these buildings. But, it goes in all the different schemes. It goes in materials, it goes in, materials or ways to build this material, takes the development in mass timber. It goes in a way to produce, like we just heard it from Boxable, DFMA. I'm really intentionally saying DFMA. It's really designed to find a way to not only design it and produce it, perhaps in a protected area. It is really, really have to think about can you get to something which is really close to assembly line. And there's a lot of discussion regarding supply chain, and I think also here, if you do it by yourself, not really related to real demand of clients, it will be probably tough. So I can highly recommend that this is only going together with concrete, clear projects.
Thank you, Lars. This is for sure really important how we go with this kind of process and projects. Bruno, how do you see that, please? How do you see this organizational process? How to shift from traditional to sustainable centric company?
Luis, we can say that there are 3 points to consider as a sustainable company: consumer pressure, regulation update, and own initiative. For us, to be sustainable means generation of economic results, reduction of environment impact, and people in the center. It's not an easy job. It wouldn't be possible to achieve success alone. The partnership with you, Porsche Consulting, was essential. It allowed us to start a new mentality based on lean construction philosophy. Almost a year and a half ago, we started together the lean construction training. And 1 year ago, Porsche Consulting helped us to improve our design processes, PDP, product development process. And recently, in this year, 2021, we started a new project called HPO, High Performance Organization. This knowledge and continuous learning certainly will help us to be more efficient, profitable, and environment friendly. But there is an important thing that we need to talk about: people. It is in our purpose and always was. We don't want only the company's achievement. We seek people achievement, customers, workers, suppliers, for example. We have some conducts with people. For example, 1, meetings for cancer and psychological disease prevention, health and charity campaigns, blood, toys, food and clothes donation, birthday celebration. Luis, those are some of our thoughts about this thing.
Thank you, Bruno. Thank you very much. And I would like to drive the question now to Nicolas. Nicolas, Bruno said a lot about the process, for example, the PDP, how they use it and how it can help in the future, right? And also I imagine also to establish goals related to sustainability. Do you have strategic goals related to sustainability at Implenia? And what has been the progress so far, please?
Well, indeed, I mean, Implenia has sustainability goals. I mean, sustainability is, I guess like at the core of our business strategy since 2007. So way back, or way before I actually started to work at Implenia. And we're actually currently pursuing 12 sustainability goals on a global scale until 2025. So we set really 5-year targets to have actually time to work on them. And they are all actually publicly tracked and also implemented in our MBOs. And I think that's very important when it comes to also motivate our management to work on the achievement of these goals. So some of them have been more successful than others, I have to admit. I'm particularly happy about, for instance, our CO2 reduction path and actually the processes and standards we put in place to develop actually real sustainable green buildings. So there I'm particularly happy. And actually I want to stress out that at least in Switzerland, in Western Europe, that's sort of my observation I have, well, having sustainability goals, defining them and really pursuing them is very much expected by stakeholders and especially also investors. So it kind of became, I would say, a license to play already, which is great. And now we have new trends such as sustainable finance, green bonds. Some of you might heard of the EU taxonomy that is going to be put in force in January 2022. So all these trends and drivers, they actually increase, let's say, the expectations that the market has on sustainable construction solutions. And this is actually great for the movement, I would say. So for a company as Implenia, the question is not if we have sustainability goal, but more how we can become a leader in sustainability and really go one step ahead of our competitors.
Thank you, Nicolas. No, very interesting, as you mentioned, the goals, and Bruno, about the process and the organizational shift. Birgit, how do you see that? What is your perspective from the organizational shift in other industries, just that we can compare a little bit outside of construction, please?
Yes, Louis. Yes, I completely agree what was already said. What we see is if we talk to clients, some 2 years ago, probably some were neglecting. And as you said, doing it like a sandbox, but sustainability is here and it will stay. So as I said before, it's a huge transformational challenge. And this has to be embedded in the strategy, and this also has to be mirrored in the organization. So what we see now is that the sustainability topic is going up the ladder to the hierarchy level of the board. So we see it's a CFO topic, talking about valuable growth. And we see that there is a need to steer the topic top down, but also anchor it from the bottom up in the company, in the organization, in the process, in the culture, and helping people to engage in the process. And so qualification and also leadership is really important to drive the transformation. And so I think everything already said is included in the organizational shift. And so it's still a lot to do out there, but we are on the right way.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Birgit. Talking about a little bit about circular economy, Paolo, how do you think that a circular economy can be strengthened and established, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry, did you say circular economy?
Yes.
Can you just describe what you mean by that so I can answer it accurately?
So how do you think that reusable or recyclable materials can be used today? How do you think that for the future or currently at Boxable, please?
Yeah, understood. Yeah, so over the last several decades, I think everybody in every country has made great strides in terms of recycling. So that really comes down to a matter of waste, and the seismic shift, I think, for building construction is again to move from an open field into a factory. That's the majority of the help. Out in the field, you get tremendous inefficiencies with waste, and correspondingly after that, site cleanup. So this is really the biggest thing in terms of a circular situation. When you bring that into a factory and you have the four walls of the factory, now you can control the environment, and you can really look at what your waste issues are, and you have them all in one location to be able to recycle them and manage them. And then from the other end, from the design and manufacturing end, of course, again with the Boxable product, because it's so systemized, we're not taking a piece of wood and cutting 100 centimeters off the end. We're molding something that uses only the right amount of material for the job. And of course, this helps everybody. It helps the manufacturing speed, it helps the manufacturing cost, the material cost, and ultimately that kicks down to a lower retail price for the consumer, which is what we see with all of our other products we buy. They're very, very low priced, and the quality is very high. So from a design engineering, industrial design point of view, from the outset, designing with the smallest amount of waste is absolutely critical. And some of the core principles, or sort of the genetic code of the company, is we don't want to cut things. We don't want to machine things. We want to mold things, because molding, injection molding, or any types of different casting process yields very little waste. So here, for example, our buildings are made from insulation, steel, and concrete, and we're always looking to buy those materials in the correct length. And if they're molding equipment, we're having a discussion the other day on the insulation, to make a big mold, to make these big blocks of insulated material and then cut them into 6 panels. We make the mold for the block exactly the right size to cut into the 6 panels. So we have perhaps a 5-minute cycle time. The big block of foam comes out, we cut it into 6 panels, and the only waste is a little bit of dust between the saw blade. So it's really, again, a total approach. It has to be approached from either end. It has to be approached from the site assembly end, which really has to be in a factory, and then from the origination end, from the design, industrial design and manufacturing end. And it has to work very closely. We've had a very interesting example here, especially with Porsche, who's been living through it with us. We've been manufacturing now for I think about 13 or 14 weeks, and it's a very interesting iterative process. The generation that we've gone to production with on the first production on the Boxable technology, essentially we had to do in the dark, because we didn't have a factory to feed back to us what was efficient or inefficient. And now that we have a factory and we have the first generation of product, the factory is now feeding back to design and engineering what is inefficient. And it's really a very joyful process, because now we can go back and forth, and keep driving down inefficiency and waste. And so it really has to be approached from the origin end and from the final assembly end.
Thank you, Paulo. Thank you very much. I think we are almost running a little bit out of time, so I'm gonna check here which questions do we have from our audience. So the first one, I would ask, please, Lars, if you can help me with that. What is the key role the governments should play, and how could they support, booster a more sustainable construction process?
Yeah, my first idea would be the following. Doesn't matter in which country we are, the governments are one of the biggest clients. So think about they would see them as a client who wants to drive it and is really willing to develop and pay for all these new developments which they want to see on all the private jobs. So that's my first recommendation. So the government should really think about which tremendous role they can play basically driving these kind of new approaches. The second, sure, that's always, I see it extremely currently in Europe. There are coming a lot of rules. These rules are for all industries, and it is difficult. The interpretation is very difficult. So I think the second point is to come with a framework coordinated with basically not doing it alone, coordinating with us, with private clients. So we all have the same interpretation and following the same framework. So that makes life easier. And I think that could be the second role.
Okay, thank you very much, Lars. We have one more question here that I would like to ask, please, Nicolas to answer, because it's about goals and KPIs. So, Nicolas, how do you measure your progress regarding becoming more sustainable or achieving your goals? Any KPI for that?
Well, that's indeed not that easy, I have to say, because sustainability is often very intangible, especially when we talk about social sustainability. You have a lot of goals that are more, let's say, qualitative than quantitative. So obviously, it's always quite difficult to define very precise and measurable KPIs. However, I would say or stress that in the field of environment, I think this is a little bit more tangible. So for instance, when it comes to CO2 emissions, you can basically really measure your CO2 footprint as a company, scope 1, scope 2, and maybe even scope 3, and then actually kind of track whether you are in line with the targets that you set yourself for the future. So I think like in terms of in the environment, I guess you have more tangible KPIs to define. I have to say KPIs are very important also for the sustainability because they make sustainability more, let's say, feasible or like tangible, as I said before, especially for management, because management obviously wants to see results, measurable results. So it is not that easy, I have to say, but they are valuable KPIs. You can find a lot also in literature or just look at companies that are kind of famous for their sustainability strategy and try to derive KPIs for yourself. I think that would be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Nicolas, very much. And one more question here for Birgit, please. Are there any procedures that we go through or that already are going through extreme modifications to reach the long-term goals?
Yes, of course. So, but every industry is different. And so I think the procedures that are the key to change to more sustainability are a little bit different. So the long-term goal, I think one of the most important thing is that if you have a long-term goal, you should have a roadmap with milestones. And of course, you need KPIs to measure your progress and your impact you're creating on the way to your goals. And of course, you have to adjust them as you proceed in time. So this question, I cannot answer more concrete because it's very generic. But I hope it's answering a little bit what you were asking. Maybe other colleagues from our panel have an opinion on that topic.
Someone would like to give some contribution to this topic of procedures, any procedures that will go through or that already go through to help to reach the long-term goals that you have been working on?
Maybe that's not an easy one.
By procedures, what do you mean by procedures?
By procedures, process that may help, I think that's the question that they did for us here. So some extreme modifications or procedures,
sure,
something out of the box, let's say like that, right?
Yeah, I'll help fill that one in. Although I'll probably be accused of thinking inside the box, being, Boxable, excuse the bad joke. But, it's very interesting. The building construction market right now out in the open, sort of building out in the open in the field is trades driven. It's trades driven. Right, so the plumber comes in, then the drywall guy comes in, then the electrician comes in, and that's very interesting. And as we've moved this process, and we're the first people to do it, the only people to do it, to put housing construction on an automotive style manufacturing line, which is why Porsche has been so tremendously useful. We had to start the building. We had to start the production line somewhere. Nobody's ever built this product before. The factory is new. The people are new. There are no systems or procedures in place. So it's a very good question. So we just started by being trade-based. We got the electrician and the plumber and the drywall guy all in. And now as we segue from trade-based field construction to automotive-style manufacturing construction, the trades disappear. It comes down to technicians. So maybe we have a production line with perhaps 9 or 10 different stations, and where we before had the electrician is here and the plumber is here. Now we don't do that. We say from beginning to end, what is the task? The ankle bone is connected to the knee bone, is connected to the hip bone, and we start from the beginning and go to the end. And then we come in and say, how much does each task take? And then we have 10 sections, and like a log cake, we divide it into the 10 sections. And what happens is in any one section, we can have a mix of an electrician and a plumber working side by side as technicians. So the process is everything. And for us, it's a monumental shift that we're going from trades-based assembly to production line based assembly, and it is a completely 100% different mindset.
Thank you, Paulo. Thank you very much. Nicolas, please.
Yeah, if I may just add, because I think it's a very important or interesting topic, and thanks, Paulo, also for your answer, because it's kind of corresponds to the observations we have here in Switzerland. And I think this is one of the biggest obstacles when it comes to develop and build in a sustainable and circular way, is that in construction you have very fragmented processes. So you have planners, developers, you have constructors, operators, and then deconstructors, and they all try to really optimize their respective areas. And actually, when you talk about sustainable construction, it's not about optimizing one specific phase of the life cycle of a building, but actually about optimizing the whole life cycle of a building. And therefore, actually, what we need is more integrated processes in the whole life cycle of a building. And I think actually digital solutions will help quite a lot to achieve that goal.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicolas. Digital is for sure the next level, right? To connect everything. Well, we are running a little bit out of time, but as previously mentioned, the Future of the Construction Roundtable is a series of sections focusing on discussing different aspects regarding the construction business. So we will be bringing different companies, participants, and topics to add more value, both to panelists and to you, watching us from all over the world. Thank you very much, Mrs. Birgit, Mr. Paolo, Mr. Lars, Mr. Bruno, Nicolas, and our audience. I hope to see you soon in the upcoming events from Porsche Consulting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.